Greetings, superior beings, greetings, supreme being. Welcome to Universal Peace Television. The channel RBC Hoffman, FFN on YouTube. This is a special broadcast. It is Satanic Origins of Christmas, Christmas, Santa equals Satan. So the question is it really satanic in origin or rather pagan? What does pagan even mean? But, as you can see, I'm wearing this Santa hat, Christmas hat basically. And I think we should start off with the Christmas holiday nowadays. The Christmas holiday nowadays is about peace on earth and goodwill towards men and consumerism, getting and receiving presents despite its pagan satanic origin. No matter what they say, that's basically a time to do good, help homeless people, etc. So that is the meaning to many people. And then there's this article. I don't know if this is still online. The Horrific Origin of Santa by Pastor Harry. So that's not so much about the origin of Christmas, but about Santa. Satansrapture.com. Horror of. So let's start with that, and then I have another article. Or perhaps I should start with pagan, a person holding religious beliefs other than those of the main world religions. Synonyms: heathen, infidel, idolater, idolatress, atheist, non-theist, irreligious person, agnostic, skeptic or septic, heretic, apostate, archaic, pagan. In prehistoric times, pagans used to worship the sun gods. Well, as you all know, I'm totally anti-religion now. Now I know what evil and horror and torture has been done in the name of God and other deities associated with various religions. And it's simply based on a lie that there's something higher than the humans out there, which they want to pretend to depopulate you all with their voice of God weapon, with directed energy weapons, and synthetic telepathy, the brain control machine, the voice of God weapon. But more about it in my previous broadcasts. So then I'm wondering, is this written by Satanists, or I'd have to check the origin of this thing. Let's see if we can make the speech engine read this article for Universal Peace.
The horrific origin of Santa by Pastor Harry. Modern church history tells us that the Santa myth has its origin in Saint Nicholas, a 3rd century Christian bishop who gave gifts to orphan children. Yet none of this agrees with the jolly old, large man in a red suit that is accompanied by Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. There is an ancient, pagan ritual that seems to better reveal the true and more bloody origin of Santa. Silent Night, Bloody Night. In ancient Britain, about 1100 AD, there was a dark pagan ritual that took place on the night of the winter solstice, Deck 21, very close to Deck 25, the traditional day of Christmas. The ritual of the stag. In a torchlight dark forest, the high priest, with long white hair and beard, would kill a stag, male deer, that had large full antlers. This was a sacrifice to the gods, and the horror just begins. The deer would be skinned and its furry hide turned inside out, so its raw and blood-soaked skin would serve as a bright red robe or coat. Actually, its fur became a warm, inner lining for what comes next. The deer's antlers would remain attached to the skin and serve as a large headpiece and mask for this psychotic costume. Then the high priest would put on the bloody red coat with deer antlers and sacrifice a human, probably a young virgin, followed by a wild fertility rite/orgy into the winter's night. Father Christmas. You have the admit, the large, white-haired and bearded male priest, wearing a bloody red robe with deer's antlers, sure resembles today's white-haired and bearded Santa in his red coat with Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer at his side. And often in satanic ritual, skinned animal heads of pigs, bears, goats and stags are worn as masks. Whatever the origin of Santa, in 1933, the churches of America, starting with Baptist, accepted the modern-day version of the Santa lie, complete with magical sled and the divine power to know which children were good or bad and to give gifts accordingly on the night of Deck 24. Is it just an accident that Santa scrambled equals Satan, the father of lies?
So it makes me wonder if this whole Santa thing wasn't concocted by pedophiles that supposedly know if you're good or bad, with these kids sitting in the lap of Santa. And of course Santa Claus does not exist, but it's best to pretend that he does exist if you're a young child to get presents. Otherwise your parents will say, oh, you don't believe in Santa, no more presents. Then we is happy.
Is it just an accident that on Deck 25, Christians in America and around the world turn into liars and deceive their children about Santa, setting up their own children to have their first faith shattered as glass and forever associated with Christmas and the birth of Christ? Is it just an accident that if you speak out against Santa, many churches will cast you out and even attack you? Or that the Santa lie causes violent arguments and fights among family members? Did Satan create Santa as the ultimate Christian lie? Well, one fact is clear. If you lie to your children about Santa, they won't believe you when you tell them about Jesus. Choose well whom you will serve this Christmas, God or Satan, for your very salvation and rapture escape depends much upon what you do with the Santa lie. Reverend 21.
Jesus Christ never existed. The Bible is a collection of polytheistic, plagiarized myths rolled into monotheism, which proves that God does not exist. You can Google all the words to find out what it means if you don't understand what I'm saying. But basically it boils down to the fact that the Bible is a collection of myths, stories, polytheistic myths to various, they used to believe in various gods basically, and everybody worshipped the god that they thought would bring them the wealth and power and love and sex and everything they want. And they've collected those stories and turned it into a monotheistic religion, which proves that God does not exist. Man-made religion, like George Soros says. Though it may be the only thing I agree with him on. So I think all committee of 300 members, George Soros, Margaret Chan, subversive body of the Club of Rome, should be arrested, as well as all Freemasons. And that there may still be good people in the government, enough good people to make it happen. And that people that advocate depopulating the earth are inciting to commit genocide, and they should be arrested. And their book quote should be altered, removed. More about the fact that we're not overpopulated and that we should create a timeline in which we control the factors that control aging so we don't die, in my previous broadcasts for universal peace.
To 8 and Reverend 22:15, and remember, the tribulation we get, we deserve. God bless Pastor Harry. CH of PHLINT www.satansrapture.com. FN 1. Christians, mostly Baptists and Evangelicals, in their maniacal and pathetic defense of the Santa lie, claim the origin of Santa rests in church history. True, Saint Nicholas was a real person. He was the Bishop of Myra and attended the Council of Nicaea on record. Saint Nicholas was the patron saint of almsgiving, orphans and sailors. He traveled all around Lycia giving gifts to orphan children. Saint Nicholas died on December 6, 343 AD. He, as other bishops, often wore a red robe and probably had white hair and a beard. What does this 325 AD Catholic saint have to do with the magical Santa introduced to the churches and America in 1933? What does a Roman bishop of the 4th century have to do with Arctic reindeer and a magical, flying sleigh? The Santa lie probably is a combination of the history of Saint Nicholas added to the pagan slaughter of the stag, all rolled into one satanic lie, designed to do as much damage to children as possible, which is really a wicked form of child abuse. The question is this: is the Santa lie worth losing your rapture over? Is this beloved lie worth losing your head over in the coming Holocaust? 666? Once again, as always, the tribulation we get, we deserve. Santa be gone. Complete index page. Listen to Pastor Harry on Blog Talk Radio. See our homepage for show times. Homepage. Copyright 2002 to 2008 Harry Walther and satansrapture.com. All rights reserved. And copyright 1997 to 2008 Harry. The origin of Christmas, the occult connection. The month of December pertains to capitalistic materialism relating to Christmas. Millions of people conjecture that Jesus was born on December 25th and that this date deserves a celebration by erecting a tree and giving gifts. As the Christmas season is bearing down on the capitalistic West, stress levels are increasing, including personal debt into new levels. The deluded ignorant majority accepts Christmas as a normal, Christian, holiday. However, most people lack the comprehension concerning the historic deception and occult significance. The winter solstice celebrations pertains to sun worshipping. The sun has been moving away from the northern hemisphere up until the winter solstice. The 3-day gap from the 21st and 25th of December, no appended minutes to the sunrise occur. On the 25th of December, the sunlight increases 14 seconds and the days start getting longer from 12:21 up until the summer solstice. Thus, the predominant sun-worshipping celebration for the winter solstice occurred on December 25th or 3 days after. The number 3 is the foundational number for the occult. The occult calendar is comprised of 4 periods of 13 weeks relating to the sun solstices and equinox. Winter solstice period extends 13 weeks, minor Sabbath. December 21st, Yule. December 21st to 22nd, winter solstice, Yule. One of the Illuminati's human sacrifice nights. December 25th, Holy Roman Christmas. February 1st and 2nd, Candlemas and Emblag, aka Groundhog's Day. One of the Illuminati's human sacrifice nights. February 14th, Valentine's Day. Consider the pagan roots of our popular symbols of Christmas. Christmas tree, the sacred tree of the winter god. Druids believed the spirit of their gods resided in the tree. Most ancient pagans knew the tree represented Nimrod reincarnated into Tammuz. Pagans also looked upon the tree as a phallic symbol. Star, Pentalpha, the 5-pointed star. The Pentalpha is a powerful symbol of Satan, second only to the hexagram. The star is the sacred symbol of Nimrod, and has nothing whatsoever to do with Christianity. Candles represent the sun god's newly born fire. Pagans the world over love and use candles in their rituals and ceremonies. Certain colors are also thought to represent specific powers. The extensive use of candles is usually a very good indication that the service is pagan, no matter what the outward trappings might be. Mistletoe is the sacred plant of the Druids, symbolizing pagan blessings of fertility. Thus, kissing under the mistletoe is the first step in the reproductive cycle. Witches also use the white berries in potions. Wreaths are circular, and so they represent the female sexual.
We also used to have a Christmas tree, when I was a child, I remember hanging the lametta, these silvery, basically you can make it of aluminum foil probably, little sliertjes in Dutch into the tree. And it's and I remember the smell, of course, of the tree is nice in the house. And it would be even awesomer if it could snow on Christmas with all these ionospheric heaters the taxpayers are paying for. I remember one white Christmas as a child. So it's interesting that around the world so many people celebrate Christmas, and I've already made clear that the original meaning is basically not what it's about to most people. It's about coziness, sitting around the Christmas tree, drinking something, also about sex, that's also an important element, getting presents, and Christmas tree basically, ornaments, making the house beautiful with red and green and other colors, and white snow, fake snow, if there's no real snow, which you shouldn't breathe in either. So an air cleaner with an ionizer and a normal water filter is a good idea as well.
Organs. Wreaths are associated with fertility and the circle of life. Santa Claus. Former Satanists have told me that Santa is an anagram for Satan. In the New Age, the god, Sanat Kamora, is most definitely an anagram for Satan. The mythical attributes and powers ascribed to Santa are eerily close to those possessed by Jesus Christ. Reindeer are horned animals representing the horned god or the stag god of pagan religion. Santa's traditional number of reindeer in his team is 8. In Satanic gematria, 8 is the number of new beginnings, or the cycle of reincarnation. The Illuminati views the number 8 as a symbol of their new world order. Elves are imp-like creatures who are Santa's, Satan's, little helpers. They are also demons. Green and red are the traditional colors of the season, as they are the traditional pagan colors of winter. Green is Satan's favorite color, so it is appropriate it should be one of the traditional colors for Christmas. Red is the color of human blood, Satan's highest form of sacrifice. For this reason, communism adopted red as its main color. December 25th is known as the Nativity of the Sun. This date is the birthday of Tammuz, the sun, the reincarnation of the sun god. Traditionally, December 21st is known as Yule. The Roman Catholic Church moved the celebration of Yule to December 25th. December 25th is also known to the Romans as Saturnalia, a time of deliberate debauchery. Drinking through repeated toasting, known as wassail dash, was a key to the debauchery of this celebration. Fornication was symbolized by the mistletoe, and the entire event was finished with a great feast, the Christmas dinner. Even the name, Christmas, is pagan. Christi meant Christ, while Mass meant Mass. Since all pagan masses are commemorating death, the name, Christmas, literally means the death of Christ. A deeper meaning lies in the mention of Christ without specifying Jesus. Thus, Antichrist is in view here. The pagans celebrate Christmas as a celebration of their coming Antichrist, who will deal a death blow to the Jesus Christ of Christianity. Early American Christian pilgrims refused to celebrate this day. The next period begins with the spring equinox in March and extends to the most important 13-day stretch from April 19 through May 1. Occult holidays relating to Christmas. Roman Saturnalia. The Romans celebrated Saturnalia, a festival of general merrymaking and debauchery held around the time of the winter solstice. This week-long party was held in distinction of the god Saturn and involved sacrifices, gift-giving, special privileges for slaves, and much feasting. Although this holiday was partly about giving presents, more important, it was to honor an agricultural god. On the heels of the Saturnalia, the Romans marked December 25th with a celebration called the Brumalia. Bruma is thought to have been contracted from the Latin brevum or brevis, meaning brief or short, denoting the shortest day of the year. The Romans followed the Greeks. During the 2nd century BC, the Greeks practiced rites to honor their god Dionysus, also called Bacchus. The Latin name for this celebration was Bacchanalia. It spread from the Greeks to Rome, center of the Roman Empire. It was on or about December 21st that the ancient Greeks celebrated what are known to us as the Bacchanalia or festivities in honor of Bacchus, the god of wine. In these festivities the people gave themselves up to songs, dances and other revels which frequently passed the limits of decency and order. Because of the nocturnal orgies associated with this festival, the Roman Senate suppressed its observance in 186 BC. It took the senators several years to completely accomplish this goal because of the holiday's popularity. Suppressing a holiday was unusual for the Romans since they later became a melting pot of many types of gods and worship. Just as the Romans assimilated culture, art and customs from the peoples absorbed into their empire, they likewise adopted those peoples' religious practices, blending in Christianity. The followers of Jesus, the anointed master over the children of the light, continued to grow in mass numbers. The powers of the darkness took the opportunity to use the Roman Empire through Constantine the Great to Christianize the empire that formed the Holy Roman Empire. Henceforth, Christmas was created through the powers of the deceiving darkness that replaced Saturnalia. The Christmas tree symbolizes the pyramid, the main Illuminati object. Also, celebrations that are connected to light or the sun are Judaism celebrates Hanukkah with its brightly lit menorahs, Kwanzaa candles. Origins of Yule. Pagan holiday called Yule takes place on the day of the winter solstice, around December 21st. On that day, or close to it, the Earth's axis tilts away from the Sun in the northern hemisphere, and the Sun reaches at its greatest distance from the equatorial plane. As a festival of the Sun, the most important part of any Yule celebration is light, candles, bonfires, and more. The winter solstice has been celebrated for millennia in the northern hemisphere. The Norse peoples viewed it as a time for much feasting, merrymaking, and, if the Icelandic sagas are to be believed, a time of sacrifice as well. Traditional customs such as the Yule log, the decorated tree, and wassailing can all be traced back to Norse origins. The only remedy of action for the independent spiritual seeker is non-participation. Comments on this entry are closed. Next comments. Gith December 19, 2011, 5:53 p.m. Good article. Link. Watcher December 22, 2011, 12:41 a.m. Christmas is satanic all the way. First, Hollywood's stars are all indoctrinated into satanic service by participating in satanic Christmas albums, movies, specials, and special episodes of series, whether they know it or not. Second, Christ is crossed out or negated by those who say or write Xmas. Third, the mainstream media is the propaganda machine for the satanic Illuminati. A byproduct of this is guilting people who speak out about Christmas as a Grinch, Scrooge, or bah humbug. If you don't participate, you are weird or even evil.
So there are many movies about Christmas as well. Christmas Elf and the Dutch Sinterklaas, etc. I could put ornaments in the fake palm tree. I have one star hanging, that's from last year. And I bought on eBay a little Christmas glowing LED tree. They're very cheap. Actually, I have two of them, one with sort of transparent hairs that glow, and the other one is plastic. I could even show it. In the name of the good Santa, not the bad Santa. If I can uncurl it all. And they're very cheap. You can plug it into USB or into a transformer power adapter that you often get with these devices, that you can stick a USB into and then it will work. It's all 5 volt or something. So that's a cheap idea. I don't know if you would get it in time if you'd order it now. Probably not. So yeah, I don't really care about the origin. It's more about what people do. In fact, nice things, just celebrating the holidays, turning life into a celebration. Perhaps we should try to do that as much as possible. This is a pretty nice picture. Pretty high resolution. Could this be the real Santa? He sure looks real. And no double-headed eagle. How is this possible? Probably misspelled it again. So perhaps they can get an extra reindeer cookie and stuff. I wonder if this thing's real, if it's not dangerous, these reindeer. I associated also, we had an ornament with the Amanita muscaria mushroom, basically. Santa was a shaman. Eat amanita, sweat it out. So I think that could be a really scary experience in the beginning. And people may build up resistance to these magic mushrooms. And Happy Hawaiians is a very good variety. So there may be some that have a more scary experience. One time on magic mushrooms I didn't dare going down the stairs. Too scared to go down the stairs, it was really high. So I did a broadcast about it as well. It's not for everybody. But I've never done amanita. They're illegal in Europe, I think, in the Netherlands. But they're legal in the US. And they're famous, of course. The red mushrooms with the white whatever fungus on it. It's totally fungus mushrooms, champignon, etc. Portobello, shiitake. And of course, many people have truffle for Christmas, which can give a very nice flavor. I also have some truffle in the house, but usually it's quite expensive. So usually only used during the holidays. So there sure are a lot of Santas with amanitas. And they grow underneath a specific tree, I think. I'd have to check it. Secret fun facts. Santa Claus originates from shamanism. The story of Santa Claus has long been recognized by Siberian shamans as having originated. It's too religious for me, so I don't call myself a shaman, more of a guru. As having originated from the use of Amanita muscaria mushrooms, which have a red cap and white spots. Every winter solstice, reindeer herding shamans would give out mushrooms. Homes were often snowed in, and the fungus had to be delivered through the chimney. Mushrooms would be hung over the fireplace in a sock to dry. The Christmas tree represents the conifer tree needed for the mushroom to grow. See? The shaman's reindeers guide the sleigh while, quote, flying high, unquote, on the hallucinogenic mushrooms, as amanitas are among their favorite foods. Actually, the getting high is from witches using a broom with drug on it. So they used to put that stuff in their vagina to get high, and that's where the flying broomstick idea comes from. It's from a little book. It perhaps is also online. It's uitjebol.net. The online version of the Dutch Drug Bible. So basically you could just translate this. And knowledge is power. And it's best to have drugs checked, basically. Of course, millions of people die of chemical cancer-causing prescription drugs yearly, which are used to depopulate the earth, and the hospitals are in the top 10 of main causes of death twice. And they're blocking these healing miracle cure plants, like cannabis and cocaine and heroin, which they do use in the hospitals and prescribe to patients, but then they have to have a doctor's prescription to make loads of money and to mix it with chemicals to depopulate them, etc. And so they cannot feel good. They have to feel bad if they're not paid or need. So, of course, I don't mean that, but it's what they think, basically. So, let's pack another pipe. And I like this one especially. So the white one I used for the thumbnail photo. Well, I could use that as well if it's I think that's not that it needs to be cleaned. See, it's not ventilating. So this is an awesome booklet, basically. I have it somewhere if it's not gone yet. Anyway, for example, psilocybin magic mushroom. Let's read that then. 2011, Uitjebol, written by Gerben Hellinga and Hans Plomp, not Henk Plomp.
Psilocybin, magic mushroom, entheogen of course XTC, 26 psilocybe, bald hair, magic mushrooms, O little unsightly creature so full of magic power, Mother Nature you give us so that we can see her again in full splendor. A smile from the earth, a dance of spirit and beast, the birds turn cheering their circles in the air, the whole of creation shouts, no more a tear or sigh. Hans Plomp. In South America, sacred mushrooms have been used since time immemorial to make contact with worlds that are normally outside our consciousness. But also in Europe, old images have been found that refer to the great role that magical mushrooms played in the lives of our ancestors. The great mushroom researchers Valentina and Gordon Wasson discovered before the Second World War that the old rituals of the holy mushroom still existed in some Mexican Indians. When Western researchers were enabled by the shamans to get to know the operation of the bald head themselves, a shock of enlightenment went through the world of truth seekers. At last the nectar, the soma, the elixir of life, the flesh of the gods had been found. In the 60s the interest in Indian initiations increased enormously and numerous people sought entheogenic experiences with the help of mushrooms. Then psychonauts discovered in the 1970s that the European variant of the globally occurring mushroom family psilocybe, psilo means bald, cybe means head, the common head common in Europe, is an excellent entheogenic agent. Those who want to find it can go to the most diverse places. For the pointy bald head, psilocybe semilanceta, in public gardens and parks, along sports fields and road edges. For the manure-headed head, psilocybe coprophila, on manure or highly fertilized soil. For the sand-headed cup, psilocybe montana, between crust and leaf mosses on sandy forest and heathland. They are small, between 2 and 3 centimeters high and not easy to find. Moreover, There are quite a few other small mushrooms that look like bald heads for the untrained eye. Those who go out for the first time should know how silo looks like. Everywhere in the country there are connoisseurs who pull into the fields in spring and autumn and sell their harvest to a small group of loyal users. Silo is freshest fresh. The dose can vary from 5 to 20 pieces. The last dose gives a pretty strong trip, similar to Mexican, Cuban, Nepalese or Balinese silo. As with almost all means, an empty stomach is recommended. Silos can cause a slight nausea in the first half hour. If you eat something very light, such as a biscuit, it usually goes. The trip can take 4 to 8 hours. The fungi are very good to dry and keep their strength for months. It is therefore good practice to dry a supply of this ghost heater for the long winter months. Indigenous psilocybin is an ideal tool, which you can enjoy in nature, at home or at a party. It is mild, and if you do not take too much of it, you cannot flip on it. You get high in a cheerful way. The bald heads are not harmful to health and, as far as we know, have no side effects. If you drink a lot to rinse the kidneys. A user says, you learn to look at yourself objectively. You can see through things you are fooling yourself with. Some people are stuck in it for a whole lifetime. With mushroom you can break it in one go. My sphere, but not superficially, then I need to go deeper. In our country there are psychonauts who have a nursery of exotic, for example Mexican, mushrooms in the basement. The small-scale distribution takes place via networks of enthusiasts. The effect of these mushrooms is very strong. The best thing is to make tea out of it. Take 2 to 3 grams of dried mushrooms per person on a large glass of water. Bring the water to a boil in a pan. Let the mushrooms pull for 15 minutes at a low level, so that there is only an occasional air bubble rising from the bottom. Drink the tea on an empty stomach. After an hour you start to trip. This takes about 4 hours and then slowly decreases. There are no after effects. You can add water to the mushrooms again, have the tea pulled and put it in the refrigerator. This tea is of course less strong, but tasty at breakfast. The mushrooms can also be processed in an omelette. The effect is strongly entheogenic, but also very earthy. For example, you can go to a place or a person in the mind and, as it were, see how it is. If something is wrong, or the person is unhealthy, you can feel it. You can go to the future and feel how a certain matter will develop. You can also examine your own body and your mind. You get signals through what your weak spots are and what you can do about them. When you walk in nature you see miracles, for example energy circuits, just under the ground between trees, plants and bushes. The chlorophyll, the green in the leaves that plays an important role in nature, gets an enormous significance. Everything shines and sparkles and vibrates. Clouds are spirits, sunrises and sunsets are cosmic events. This is certainly not a party drug. Missionaries have explained how difficult it is to explain the Christian message to people who are convinced that they have long had a means, the sacred mushrooms, with which they can receive the Word of God directly and in the flesh. Traveling heaven and making contact with God there. P. Hurst, Hallucinogens and Culture, left, Pado Home Mush Planet. What are truffles? Philosopher's Stones? Magic truffles. Wikipedia, Mushrooms save the mushroom. Add a comment. Social media tweet reactions submitted by Luck, not checked, on October 23, 2009 to 1604. Mushrooms I have used several times and is my favorite drug. It does not make you as busy and energetic as MDMA or XTC but is more difficult to control. To me, magic mushrooms is not a drug that you will use for a moment. There is a spiritual preparation before. This I usually do about 1 week before I will use, so also now, I start to listen to some spiritual music, read trip reports and think how I want to go my evening to fill in. The use of magic mushrooms gives you insight into a whole bunch of things. You know how to approach issues from a different point of view and in this way you will also reason and conclude differently. At the moment all your questions suddenly seem to be very simple to solve. But if you go too deep to dig and rethink difficult questions, you can get stuck with the result that you cannot let go and go about it easily. Worry. This I had the last time. It is as if a whole work of cogs and gears are woven together and block. This is a feeling. At that moment it is important that you send your trip by taking a turn. You can do this by looking for another room or by listening to other music. Turning a joint is also an option. It is important that you can change your mood in an instant, so you do so by having a goal in mind. Turning a joint when you ride is a challenge, and a treat when it is finished. Note that smoking a joint strengthens the magic mushrooms' effects. It may be that you experience a nausea after using the mushrooms. That will take about 15 minutes with me. And when the pados start working, in my case after an hour, you notice that you suddenly see much more than in normal condition. When you look at a plastered wall, you suddenly see 1000 small white relief dots on the wall. Music also sounds clear and fuller in the ears. If the effects weaken after an hour or 4, they will return to waves a bit, but usually you feel satisfied because you can look back at your adventure with a satisfied look. Reply. Submitted by Anonymous, not checked, on October 30, 2009 to 22:16. Take mushrooms and other substances seriously, and do your homework. Reply. Submitted by Pedro, not checked, on February 5, 2010 to 2042. I am faced with a dilemma and a question. I am now 20 years old and have had psychosis since my 13th. Now I have been dealing with antipsychotics for a long time.
So my advice would be not to take the chemical cancer-causing prescription drugs, and to make sure if you take a drug that it's pure, to test it. And weed can be eaten, it doesn't have to be smoked, and it's a wonderful miracle cure for many people out there, and it should be legalized. The state may not block a working medicine from the public. And it expands your consciousness, but there are a lot of lies about cannabis, so don't believe the hype. In reality, it makes you sane rather than psychotic, because it expands your consciousness. And they don't want you to think, they want you to numb down your consciousness, to narrow down your consciousness rather, with these chemical cancer-causing prescription drugs, tobacco, alcohol. And the killer alcohol also kills millions of people yearly, gives people cancer, so it's good to cut down on that as well. Perhaps totally stop using alcohol. According to many people it's poison. You can all check it out for yourselves online. And to use in a responsible manner, so 1/10 of the dose that some people are using is sometimes sufficient to get high. So you don't want to overdo it, especially not if it's a chemical that's cancer-causing drugs, because chemical cancer-causing drugs are prescribed by doctors. It's a very common cause of death nowadays. It's in the top 10 of main causes of death. And chemicals have a synergistic effect with cancer-causing electromagnetic radiation, according to Dr. Cyril Smith. Therefore, it's best to avoid chemicals completely, also chemicals in foods. More about this also in my other broadcasts for Universal Peace. So this is one of the watch faces I created for the Amazfit base. Of course, for the holidays, because I think this is the best Christmas album ever created. Ray Conniff, we wish you a Merry Christmas. And of course I do wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a terrific New Year with only goodness and good things in it, and love and peace. And I think that using these words may also create it to a certain extent. So because I have over 500 watch faces installed, it takes a while to scroll through them to turn it on, but I think that you wouldn't really see it unless I would show my watch to you all, but then I'd have to scroll through it. Well, perhaps I will. Let's see if the speech engine has something more interesting to say.
And recently I have been throttling about what weed almost every day, and I have already done a lot of research but cannot find anything about it. If I weed through really the weirdest things with, I also like to listen to Goa and psychedelic because this affects my days enormously. I get into the trance every time I use. Sometimes I also have hallucinations and think the most impossible things, because I listen to it. My flogging is almost always scary and obscure. But I am so entranced that I do not mind it, I just let it come to me. I have beyond my use not suffer from psychoses and it is fine with me for months, but I wonder why I am so strong frowning and other experiences while my friends are buzzed GWN. Or are they psychoses every time I use? I do not know what's right. To what I experience, weed, and what I read on the internet LSD, I find myself really back in there exactly, and I want to try LSD or magic mushrooms for a while, but am afraid this is going to be. Reply. Submitted by visitor, not checked, on February 5, 2010 to 23:10. If you are being
out here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here we is stoned, immaculate.
treated with apsychotics, you should also be under treatment with a doctor. Ask him why you get those apsychotics. Then go again with your clinical picture in combination with the means you use. Want to use search on the internet if it is wise. Reply. Submitted by Pedro, not checked, on Sat, February 6, 2010 to 1742. Everywhere this is better not to do, but the urge is enormous. Gvin this very regrettable, but think that I better not do than. Reply. Submitted by visitor, not checked, on Moan, February 15, 2010.
So millions of people die from the cancer-causing alcohol yearly, including that Dutch student that died of drinking a liter bottle of vodka for an initiation. So that should be half or quarter of that for a safe initiation. And it's best to avoid it, except for perhaps a little champagne, New Year, and beer here and there. And if you use strong spirited drinks to mix them with the cancer-causing sugar-laden soft drinks or fresh fruit juice or whatever.
To 1410. Does anyone have an idea whether it is also possible to freeze mushrooms instead of drying them? I know that this is possible with normal mushrooms, only then they become flat. But would the active substance be preserved? Reply. Submitted by Paddle Planet, uncontrolled, on Tuesday, February 16, 2010 to 1643. Wet mushrooms cannot be frozen, chances are that they will rot. The best thing is to dry them and keep them in an airtight, dark place. Reply. Submitted by Christoph, not checked, on Moan, April 19, 2010 to 1402. I understand you.
I doubt it. I think that it may be possible to freeze them, and you might be able to find more info about it online if you've grown your own mushrooms. And drying is another option.
I have also been struggling with psychoses for some years and regularly take antipsychotics, but the urge for psychedelic experiences is also great. I am careful, sometimes smoke a joint, and that is usually more intense for me than for normals. I have already played fiercely on joints. I am also interested in magic mushrooms and stuff, but do not quit. Everyone does not recommend it. Reply. Submitted by Pedro, not checked, on Sat, May 1, 2010 to 1531. Indeed on weed.
Weed is okay, but with hallucinogenics it's better to watch out. And happy Hawaiians may also be okay, but other mushrooms I'd watch out with that.
I can also go very strong, and I tried pados the first time a while ago. I had prepared a great deal together with a friend and it ended well. Nevertheless, that one moment people change lives permanently. I think after paddling on pados Binnock really not the same.
The idea is to have a buddy basically to prevent you from jumping off the balcony thinking you can fly and you're Superman and you're gonna fly to the moon.
But this in positive form. I advise you not to do this because there are many risks associated with psychoses, but I have long thought about. Reply. Submitted by Jake, not checked, on Moan, November 22, 2010 to 1343.
Again, most deaths and accidents occur when they combine these drugs with alcohol, the killer alcohol. So it's also good to have an RD kit, also when it comes to mushrooms.
First drying and then freezing is going, but if it defrosts you get a paste. You could also make silo ice cubes. Let stand in hot water for 4 hours and then freeze the water. Silo ice will last only 4 or 5 days. Reply. Submitted by Johnny Monday, not checked, on Moan, January 17, 2011 to 1933. I certainly agree with you. It really changed my life and also my person, but in a positive way. I have to note that I did not experience that in the same way. As mentioned above, you see through yourself, but you can also get stuck if you dig too deep. I've had that too, and initially I did not like that. Although not frightening, the trip was very confronting for me. I think it is important to note that magic mushrooms are effective to see through yourself, but not to address the problems you find with them. It is therefore important to get started with your new insights after your trip. Sometimes I thought it had ruined something in me, because when I did not see through myself, I also did not bump into anything. But after a few months of processing it was absolutely worth it. I hope that I have not scared anyone, because you do not have to be there. But you have to know what you are about. Mushrooms are above all an extraordinarily beautiful and valuable experience, which enables.
Of course, there are also animals high on mushrooms. Sometimes you see some of these psilocybin mushrooms with the active ingredient in it, and then some animal is taking a little bite from it, and it may be less harmful than LSD, the synthetic variant. So basically these are hallucinogenics. So you start seeing things that are not there. For example, I have this cloth in front of me on the window, and it started breathing. It was really, I think it was a fun experience, but it didn't make me lose contact with reality to the extent that I could do anything stupid or. But then again, I didn't take that much, so I keep the dosage to the extent that it gives a pleasant trip. That's the trick, and it varies from mushroom to mushroom, or truffles basically. So if you'd have to choose, I would go for cannabis anyway. More vivid colors and eating it in can of bonbons or tea, space cake. And it has to be bio-organic eco, not your sauce's depopulation weed, basically.
You to get closer to your nature and to see the unity of the cosmos. I think that is the very valuable insight I have had in my life. Once you have processed your insights, I think you are only ready for a next trip. But when I finished working on myself and went tripping, I could also clearly see that the problem had settled. Logically, it was only to enjoy, smile, and so it can also be just for you, because if you have your affairs in order and you know yourself, you will only get fine insights. Reply. Submitted by Visitor Ownhead, not checked, on April 15, 2011 to 2043. I have never done patos but truffles, dragons, dynamite. I am mentally broken down to the ground for that time, but due to the insights I received, including the confrontational, I have learned a lot and am spiritually almost completely recovered. I am even of the opinion that it has made me mentally stronger. Reply. Submitted by Visitor, not checked, on Tuesday, September 18, 2012 to 020. You're probably going to do it anyway. Something works differently with you than with your measurements. Cannabis is very different in people with similarities. Magic mushrooms too. It can deliver a nice movie or gloomy. Mushrooms are relatively mild because of LSD. I would not take too large quantities. Trip is easier to steer, more positive and shorter. Take this to heart, Dennis. Reply. Submitted by Chris, not checked, on Tuesday, August 6, 2013 to 1831. Hi, do not know if you have already used mushrooms with antipsychotics, but I do not recommend it because these drugs usually do not combine. I have also experienced this myself. I became paralyzed, it was difficult to move me, say. And more of that kind of unwanted effects. I do not know if you want to. Greeting. Reply.
Yeah, that's another thing I advise you to read up on. If you're using some other drug, chemical cancer causing prescription drug or anything else, to first check if you could combine it with whatever you want to combine it with, or if there are negative experiences or death involved. So, shaman. I like the Dutch version of Outage. Very nicely written. Stuff with love in it, music with love in it, writings, etc. So that LED strip on eBay that you can put behind the monitor to light up the wall, etc. Or under the table or anywhere, that's also a good deal, I think. Really nice. Let's read this then on entheogen-network.com.
A Christmas video dash. Post BTCO for August 05th 2011 2:20 p.m. What's the deal with Santa and Satan being so similar in spelling and the whole red thing? If Santa is related to the flying reindeer and the Amanita ... and Lord Soma is the god of the moon. Santa Claus equals Satan Lucas, but Santa Claus also adds up to 666 using the 6 progression. Surely, this is no coincidence, and it was premeditated by Satan to convince his followers of the wrong use of gematria. To celebrate the birth of Christ, the invincible Son, Christians would not invoke Satan Lucas on December 25th. Satan loves to get his hands into everything that is holy, including the birth of Jesus, and twisting it around. Satan using deflection to take our eye off who the actual Antichrist is.
So I'm saving the secretfunfacts.com picture. We can see, look up what Wikipedia, the free CIA Vatican edited encyclopedia, has to write about Christmas. Okay, here we go.
Christmas is an annual festival commemorating the birth of Jesus Christ, 7/8, observed most commonly on December 25, 4910, as a religious and cultural celebration among billions of people around the world. 2/11/12, a feast central to the Christian liturgical year, it is preceded by the season of Advent or the Nativity fast and initiates the season of Christmastide, which historically in the West lasts 12 days and culminates on Twelfth Night, 13. In some traditions, Christmastide includes an octave. 14. Christmas Day is a public holiday in many of the world's nations. 15. 16. 17. Is celebrated religiously by a majority of Christians. 18. As well as culturally by many non-Christians. 119. And forms an integral part of the holiday season. In several countries, celebrating Christmas Eve has the main focus rather than Christmas Day. Although the month and date of Jesus' birth are unknown, by the early to mid-4th century the Western Christian Church had placed Christmas on December 25, 20, a date that was later adopted in the East. 2122. Today, most Christians celebrate on December 25 in the Gregorian calendar, which has been adopted almost universally in the civil calendars used in countries throughout the world. However, some Eastern Christian churches celebrate Christmas on December 25th of the older Julian calendar, which currently corresponds to January 7th in the Gregorian calendar, the day after the Western Christian Church celebrates the Epiphany. This is not a disagreement over the date of Christmas as such, but rather a preference of which calendar should be used to determine the day that is December 25th. Although it is not known why December 25th became a date of celebration, there are several factors that may have influenced the choice. December 25th was the date the Romans marked as the winter solstice, 23, the shortest and darkest day of the year, and the first day in which the days would begin to elongate and the sun would have a longer presence in the sky. Jesus was identified with the sun based on an Old Testament verse. 24 December 25th is exactly 9 months following the crucifixion of Jesus, which, around the 3rd century, became associated with his conception based on understandings at the time of the way salvation is bound up in birth and death. Some theories then had the date of the crucifixion as his birthday, others took the date 9 months later, Christmas Day. 25-26. Also, ancient Romans had a series of pagan festivals near the end of the year, and Christmas may have been scheduled at his time to appropriate, or compete with, one or more of these festivals. 27, 28, 29. Some scholars disagree with this latter interpretation and state that the Roman Emperor Aurelian placed a pagan celebration on December 25th in order to compete with the growing rate of the Christian Church, which had already been celebrating Christmas on that date. 30. The celebratory customs associated in various countries with Christmas have a mix of pre-Christian, Christian, and secular themes and origins. 31. Popular modern customs of the holiday include gift-giving, completing an Advent calendar or Advent wreath, Christmas music and caroling, lighting a Christingle, viewing a nativity play, an exchange of Christmas cards, church services, a special meal, and the display of various Christmas decorations, including Christmas trees, Christmas lights, nativity scenes, garlands, wreaths, mistletoe, and holly. In addition, several closely related and often interchangeable figures, known as Santa Claus, Father Christmas, Saint Nicholas, and Christkind, are associated with bringing gifts to children during the Christmas season and have their own body of traditions and lore. 32. Because gift-giving and many other aspects of the Christmas festival involve heightened economic activity, the holiday has become a significant event and a key sales period for retailers and businesses. The economic impact of Christmas has grown steadily over the past few centuries in many regions of the world.
So, if scrolling goes right, then let's see if this works. Well, one thing I can do is turn on the light. I put it on level 2, like that, and here the Santa watch face that I created. It's not that visible, but I mean the time isn't that visible, but it is nice, a nice font and everything. So all in all, I think it's a pretty good watch face. It's the first time that I'm seeing this on the watch. Also testing if it works, and it does work. So, since it's only, well then I have to watch my globe, my ball, my crystal ball. Well, like this, okay. Days until Christmas, 5 days, 3 hours, 21 minutes. I think the temperature is not correct at the moment. Don't know where it's getting the temperature from. But this one is more correct. These are rain meter skins. So this skin is available for everybody for rain meter. And this is called Christmas Snow Globe Small by Ion Storm. One more time. With echo.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all for universal peace.
Real Santa through me. Satanic. Okay. Oh, my camera wasn't on. Well, you get the idea. You can see this moon phase. Its age is 1.53 days. So the moon is about 2.1% illuminated. 13.3 days to full moon if you're watching this live, otherwise it's not correct anymore, of course. You can get this for vCloud's weather too, for rain meter. Rain meter is the app to make these things appear on your desktop. So single ladies are welcome for the free shiatsu hand massage and drinking some coconut pineapple smoothie and to celebrate the holidays, also to watch 3D movies and stuff like that. Would be nice, a single lady, you are invited. Just Skype or write Prologic 999 on Skype, or write bchoffman @gmail.com, but I don't read it very often. And my Skype should work. People have instant message me, including my father. So when I keep it like this, then it should be I should be reachable. When I keep it open on the desktop, I don't minimize it. So I'm checking some people that have Skyped me. But requests, etc., please just request me and stuff, and perhaps email me. So with this wireless energy technology, they can isolate people and block views. More about it in my previous broadcasts. So, I think this is it for now. I hope you all enjoyed it. Perhaps I can play some music. Carillon de Gand is pretty good. Let's see what they let me play. Synthetic telepathy. So, well, there were reasonable parts. When I was nodding my head, it was the part I didn't like. So, I hope you all have wonderful holidays. Do nice things, love one another, spread peace around the globe, do nice healing things, and have a good time for universal peace.